Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to Finish Strong, AI-powered project clarity for year end. My name is Shelley Hayduck, and I'm co-hosting today's event with Matt Caton, our Director of Customer Solution.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
And today's session is all about bringing order to all those to-dos, all those projects, and providing you a level of visual prioritization for everything that you want to have done for year end. So a lot of you are probably using the brain to share and organize all your files and to do some amazing research. But a lot of people don't realize what a powerful project management tool you have with the brain with all the features. So we're going to talk a little bit about the way to approach project management and year-end projects specifically in the brain. And there's a couple steps that we like to start with. So first of all, the first step is really to build your visual map. So whether it's all about a marketing campaign or you're writing projects, get all your projects and ideas in the brain for reference, because once you can see them, you can act on them and start to think about what matters and what doesn't matter. And then what we like to what can really help you to do that is thought types and tags. So what you can see on every single little thought, I've got these little tags, and I can tag a person that I need to do this press release with. I can also tag when it needs to be done. I don't need to do this till 2026, and or that I might be waiting. I'm waiting for my CEO to approve this. So these sort of granular ways of really organization help to give you that overall structure in your brain. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit about how to map out projects and go over a few useful thought types and tags, and then I'm going to pass it over to Matt so we can get into how to use AI to help you narrow down your to-do lists. So pieces of information in the brain, for those of you that are new to the Brain Technologies web events, are thoughts. So a thought can be any type of digital information. And when I click on a thought, it's going to trigger all related pieces of information. And sort of like a file folder hierarchy, as I drill down, I'm sort of drilling into a particular area. So in this case, I can go into development. And if I go back up, I'm going back to the top of my brain. But what's nice is one piece of information can be located under multiple categories. So maybe my business design objectives are related to my business development area, or so I can go ahead and make that connection. And so what this helps me do from a sharing perspective is facilitate the discovery of information and place that information in a way that organically makes sense to me and my team. And I can continue to make these lateral connections to grow things. So now I got to these design objectives from my website launch, but I can also see this information in my business development area as well. And I'm just going to go back up to the top of the brain to talk a little bit more about how you might organize projects. A lot of people like to organize personal projects. You can do sort of business projects. In this case, I've got a marketing section, or you might have specific areas like your writing projects. In terms of the way you can also map out a project, you can use you could do various phases. So what we have here is a thought type for phases, and you can enumerate your project. So if you have a specific order in which you need to complete things, these phases can also be mapped out of the brain. So you can see for an IT implementation project that I have a phase one planning, phase two is requirements, development and testing, and production rollout. And each one of these phases can have the relevant documents. Phases can also be a typology, and that's when we get into project types. So the project types that you like to use are highly personal and highly customizable. The ones that I've found that have worked for me is completed projects. I love this thought type, so that if once I've done a project, and a lot of us are completing stuff for year end, you can click on this and see kind of everything you did, this month, this year. Hot project, this is something that I also love. because there are other projects that if you're in a larger organization that might slow or stall. And I also have a thought type for that. And there are other projects that might just get green lighted. So this just gives you another level of clarity or ontology on top of your basic projects. So the way that would work, just to kind of get back to an actual project. So if I want to zoom back to my marketing campaign, I can go ahead and right click on this and I can set a type for this project. So in this case, this project could be pending, stalled. I'm going to call it a hot project. So now what you'll see is the color of that thought has actually changed. And this thought that is appearing here is actually a type. I have elected for this particular demo to show the thought type displaying as a parent. You don't have to have that. But the reason this is nice, I'm just going to go ahead and tag another writing project, a hot project. I'm going to go ahead, or sorry, type, and we'll get into tags in a bit. I'm going to select this type as a hot project as well. What's nice about that is, first of all, they'll move to an area where they're tagged, so you can kind of prioritize. But not only that, you can have hot type projects in many different sections of your brain, and the only shared commonality they have is that they're a hot project. So this is a great way to further annotate things in your brain that you don't want connected. And what I mean by that is I can go back up to my types. This is the types icon in your corner here. And I can just click on that hot project, type, and I can see all my hot projects. And of course, if something is not hot anymore or it's completed, we're at year end, I can go back to that type and I can change the type to untyped. I might just want to leave it. Or if I want to just add it as a completed project, feather in my cap, I could do that. And you can see that's green. I can also mess with the color. Completed project, they don't need to be green because they're done. So if I want to come in here and adjust the color or whatever, I can also do that as well and change the icons and so forth. So we can get into that as well. That's also a nice thing to do. And the other thing, in addition to the types that will really help you organize, and just go back to my writing projects again, is tags. So the difference between a thought type and a tag, and I'll just go back to this press release thought, is you can have multiple tags per thought. So here I've got a couple different tags, and if I click on this thought, I can actually see the different tags that I have. And tags allow me another level of granularity, and they're also great for aggregating information. So I like to do tags based on priority. Obviously how critical, important, or nice to have things are. Time frame is another great way to do some tags. Today, this week, this month, next year, Q1 2026. These are all wonderful tags. You can see I've already tagged this, that I'm not touching this year. This is 2026. And when January rolls around, I'm just going to activate this tag and everything in that area is going to come to me. And then impact. High, low. This is also really nice if you're in HR or you're building teams to have different tags for talents or skills for people. So that's just an overview. This is our very streamlined project management brain. We definitely can share all of this with you as a sample, just to see kind of how this would look in a larger setting. I'm going to go into this particular brain here. And this is my strong finished brain that has more content in it. And in this case, I've got, people in my life. I've got things that I'm learning about, my goals. This is a great area that you can sort of key into your projects. And you can see under my goals, I also have research projects. And one of them is to open a new office in Europe. And that particular piece of information is an investment, but it's also under an area that I've created for business expansion. So I can't do everything in business expansion. So this is another example of where I can come in to all these thoughts that I've mapped out and just give them a level of prioritization. So the new office in Europe, I'm just going to click on that and set some tags here. So that one is, that's definitely like a 6 month timeline. It's not something that's going to happen right away. So I'm going to add that timeline there. A couple other things when I'm thinking about this. Now, of course, in addition to tags and types, we have a wonderful notes area here where, I can write a note on anything. I can also utilize AI, and Matt's going to get into this to, generate a note. And I can set word count. Maybe I just want a quick note on the complexities of opening up that office and, really start to work on information. I can also search, drag and drop links. But by looking at my tags on each of these thoughts, I can then set a prior, and I'm, my notes and so forth, I can then set a prioritization on this. And in this case, I'm going to accept the AI generated note right here. So this particular opening up an office in Europe, I'm actually going to add this as a hot project because it's something that I'm thinking about. It's not happening right away, but it's in my brain. And when I'm thinking about all my projects, I can go to my active project section to look at things. I can utilize my types. So if I just want to see, all my green lighted projects, I'm going to click on that. In this case, I don't have too many because it's a sample brain. So maybe I'll go ahead and look at all my hot projects. I've got this new office in Europe and anything else I might have tagged, and also connected to everything else that's relevant. And then, of course, I've got my tags as well. So if I want to look at what's urgent in my brain, what's a 6 month time frame, what I'm doing in other countries, what needs to be reviewed, all I have to do is click on that particular tag, and everything's going to appear. And that's sort of just an overview of a visual mapping that we've worked that's worked very well in terms of helping you prioritize all the projects that you might have for year end. And I think with that, I'm going to pass it over to you, Matt, because I know you're going to go more in depth and even more on how to use those tags and types in
Yes,
conjunction to
absolutely
AI.
fantastic. So I am going to share my screen. And Shelly, we already had requests for the brains that you've demoed. So I just want to remind
Yep, all
everyone that
available for
yes,
everyone.
we will be sending out a link to the recording as well as samples of the brains that we're demoing, the brain databases that we are demoing today. These are all sample brains, I think, everything I've seen so far. And what I'm
Mhm.
going to be demoing is a sample brain. And that brings me to a good point. Today's topic, wrapping up those projects for year-end success. We've got hundreds of people on the call today. There's not one project that everyone is working on together. So we had to sort of decide, what does a general project look like? And I really love the thought tags that Shelly selected that you saw at the very start of the demo. That's a really good sort of general overview for the types of tags you can create in your brain, and thought types as well, types and tags. But it's also up to you to decide what's going to work best in your environment. Maybe I don't need all those tags. Maybe it's more, it provides more clarity for me to just have, three different urgency level tags or timeline. I need it more granular. I need to break that down into due tomorrow, due next week, due next month, due next quarter. So it's really up to you to go in and finesse that information. And that's the great thing about the brain is you can create a structure that reflects your own personal thinking and helps you with your projects and uses your process. It's that customizable. So the brain that I'm going to be sharing right now is simply called My Journey. If I were to open up my own personal brain, what are my projects? My projects are finding the best sourdough bread recipe or rebuilding an old bicycle. Shelly might be having projects about, working at an animal shelter in her area or what have you. So we've got all these different projects, and hopefully you can apply these rules and guidelines to whatever your passion is, whatever your project is, whether it's personal or work related. So this is a very general sample brain with a lot of information in it. Um, and as you can see, I'll give you a high level overview. I've got quite simply a thought called my active projects. And then there's other areas, what I'm learning about, my own personal growth, productivity, and if I like to travel. Again, this is a sample brain. But as you can see down below, I've got projects on training for a marathon, website design, a new product launch with my office and my organization. But here I've got one of my sample projects being Utah. And this is where I'm going to get started today. Let's say I've got an upcoming trip. I'm going to be chaperoning a kid's high school trip to Utah. It's a very important project for me. And we're going to be going to Arches National Park. But already you can see that I've got a lot in this brain because I also have information about travel. I actually have a thought in this brain for all 50 states and national parks that are located in all 50 states and points of interest and so forth. I also break it down by region, the Great Basin or the Plateau or and so forth. So if I go to Utah, I can see that Utah falls under the Colorado Plateau and the Basin. It's one of the U.S. states and active projects, and the Ute Indian tribe that I'm studying as well, or collecting information on that's important to me, saving it here. And if I go into Arches, I can really start breaking down this project, this on-site study that I'm going to be going on in the new year. And this is all the work that I've put into it so far, so I can wrap things up and be ready to go when we launch to this on-site study. Now, the first topic that was mentioned that we'd be looking into in today's webinar is specifically building a clear visual map. The brain is just there's nothing else that compares to that. I really love, and on a daily basis, I go into my brain in what we call normal view. So I'm seeing the active thought in the very center of the plex and all related active thoughts around it. So my subcategories down below, my parent thoughts or super categories up above. You saw Utah fell under 6 different super categories. Related information, siblings that share the same parent thought, and then my jump thoughts, things that are related to the active thought, but not necessarily fitting into a hierarchical structure. And that structure of the brain really allows me to navigate and flow fluidly through my data in a way that makes sense to me. It's not linear at any point. I could jump off to the side of, just specific information about my team and my equipment checklist and breaking down all the data of just the unit of chaperones that I'm going with, as opposed to what we'll be studying on that trip. And I can specifically go into, and actually let me minimize my notes. And we're going into today's webinar with the understanding that you know a lot about creating notes and content on thoughts and adding attachments and importing data. If you're unfamiliar with those, we also have Brain 101 classes every other week that you can teach. But here I'm going into some more advanced views of the brain that I've already created. And the first view that I'll share with you is called outline view. It's quite simply a sort of a linear view. You see some of the thoughts that I've visited so far, and those all connect and come down to Arches and my on-site study. And if I hit the plus sign up above, I can see one additional generation away in both directions, actually. So ethical considerations of on-site studying, so cultural sensitivity, site preservation, and so forth. Down below, past field studies. If I really want to know more about ecological past studies on the flora and fauna of Arches National Park and so forth. So I can selectively break down different categories that I'm interested in at any time, or as a whole, and I'm using my mouse wheel to sort of scroll the structure up and down, come back and return to the normal view at any time. So in addition to the outline view, we also have what we call a mind map view. Classic mind map view where information branches off to the sides, all the subcategories. And once again, anytime I hit that plus key, I expand one additional generation in all directions of the current active thought. And of course, if it's not fitting on my screen, I'm broadcasting at a fairly low resolution today. I can utilize that scroll bar there to get the font to display at the size that works best for me or that fits on the screen. I'm back to my normal view in the brain with my content area over on the right. And the next question that came up, or the topic that we talked about, is focusing fast with intelligent thought types and tags. So that's where I really want to dive in. Thought types and tags. Shelley showed you some great examples, and I really loved that tag outline that she generated. My tags are a little bit different in this brain, and of course, it's going to depend on what's important to you and how you're structuring your data and what your categories are. People refer to things as being urgent or tier one or it's on the runway. So, whatever verbiage really works best for you. Here you can see tags that are important for me in this brain are the people that are actually working on the project. So if I go into, let's say, for example, I want to start talking about like my team schedule. So here's my team schedule of things that we're going to be working on. And here's my ideas. I've got another thought. So from past field studies, sort of a journal of topics of things that I want to work on. I'm going to be sharing this brain a little bit later with a larger group. And I want to make sure that when they go to this thought, my ideas, who's my ideas? Who wrote that thought? I'm going to right click and assign a tag to this thought. And I'm going to assign my tag so people know specifically these are Matt's thoughts. When I hover over it, I see that these are Matt's thoughts. Also, this is marked as urgent. That's a thought type for me in this brain. Whether you choose to make urgency levels, tags, or types, it's completely up to you. I want all my urgent action items, because this is a project management specific brain. Everything that urgent, that's a thought type. It's going to be urgent until it gets done, and then I can retype it as something else. Until then, it's just an urgent thought type. And you can see that my status for different thought types, it's either urgent or a back burner. Let's create a new thought type. So let's say I have a new thought type. I'll just create it here under status. Something I'll call it middle of the road. Again, it really depends on how you define your categories. Q1, Q2, what have you. I'm going with urgent, back burner, and then there's those middle of the road, like I'll get to it when I get to it. It's not urgent, but I don't want to forget about it also. So middle of the road. Now that is a thought. I just created a native thought, but at any time you can right click and convert a thought to a type or a tag. So I'm going to convert this to a thought type. And now it's a subcategory of my different status levels. And when I go up to my thought type dropdown, I see statuses are either back burner, middle of the road, or urgent. And of course, I can apply colors to that. I can apply an icon. So if I click on the icon box, select the stock icon. What's a middle of the road? I don't know. I'll browse through my categories in business. Middle of the road is, yeah, sort of, these scales or bar graphs, whatever type of image I want to add to that, so that when I assign something, hey, this is a status middle of the road, haven't decided if it's urgent or I'm going to get to it next month. Let's go back to my project that I'm working on. So I'm writing up my team hypotheses. I'm going to say this is well, that already has an icon. So scientific contributions. I'll say this is going to be, looking into the contributions that have been applied to science from studies done at Arches. That is a thought type, sort of middle of the road. Do we want to, focus on that with our group? Haven't decided yet. So that's a middle of the road status as opposed to something that's urgent, which is finalizing the lesson plan. So I've applied a few different thought types and then thought tags. Let's go back to that scientific contributions. Let's tag this as I'm going to have maybe Cindy looking into this, and some research needs to be done. So I'll check that research tag as well. So that's a key component that we really want to highlight about the differences between types and tags. You can only have one thought type, but you can have multiple tags. So tags are really like attributes to a thought, and you can pile them up so that thoughts have many different attributes. Cindy is looking into this. We need a lot more research done. Maybe it's going to be expensive or inexpensive. I could add that as a thought tag. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to just click the tag. And from here, I'm showing you different ways you can create thought types and tags. I'll type I'll type expensive. I don't know why this would be expensive. Maybe I've done some research and I know it would eat into our budget if we really spent a lot of time and resources diving into this. So I've created my tag. Again, I can add an icon if I want, but for the sake of time, I'll just go back to scientific contributions and add one more tag. This is going to be expensive to figure out if we're going to be including this in our syllabus or not. Let's move on to the next category, which brings us into, I believe, the AI. Let me look at my notes down below. Yes, generating tasks and next steps instantly. All right, let's use my example. Actually, I hadn't planned on this, but let's use my example of this is sort of my itinerary for how I think the class is going to work out and items that we're going to be looking into. Now, this is just free flowing journaling. I sat down and just started typing about what it is that I think is important that I've learned about these parks over the years. It's a nice little journal entry, but let's say this becomes a lesson plan. So what are the steps that we need to extract from this data to create a checklist of actionable items that my class will be looking into? I'm going to use AI. Now, you saw Shelly earlier use AI to generate a note from scratch. These are my own personal notes. I've already generated them, but look at how I can actually apply AI to finesse these notes that I already have. I can translate it into a different language. I can complete if I'm writing a story on a historian that's not done yet, I can ask AI to wrap things up for me. I can reorganize it if it's unstructured and all over the place. In this case, I want to extract action items just from my own journal entry. So it does a very, very nice job. I'll go ahead and accept this without even reviewing it first. A really nice job of taking what would be a 2 or 3 page, full document, and it gives me about, 10, 15 different items of study the arches and how they actually became the arches, paying close attention to these different rock layers. So it really looks at the data and breaks that down into key categories that I've been thinking about in my journal of looking into and things that I find interesting. Great. My class will be able to focus on these individual steps. And it even gives me areas that I should visit specifically, double arch and observe this, find an arch in training and so forth. So it really looks into my sort of cryptic notes and gives me a really nice guideline. And even from there, I can select a portion of a note. Now this is part of my note. It's a checklist of actionable items. Great. It's too many. I am dividing my high school group into 5 different sort of communities, and they're each going to pick an area of focus. So you can join group 1, you can join group 5. Let's have AI break this down. And now I'm going to click on the AI button, and we're going to rewrite this selection as 5 different areas of focus for study. Let's just see what it does. With those checklist items, it didn't come up with 5 different areas. It came up with 9. So AI is not perfect. I can select this and try again or redo and reword this in some way, what have you. But you can really finesse and take your time to get what you need. The idea that I did have in mind is in this particular brain, I've got my life bucket list. If this was a brain that was all about me, maybe this is my life bucket list. And I say, all right, it's time to check this off. I'm getting a little older. I need to get some of these done. Let's take this bucket list. So this is another example. You've got sort of just some chicken scratches of notes or meetings or what have you, and you want to rewrite this into a script for a play. You want to rewrite this into, in this case, I'm going to click on AI. And like I said, I prepared for this one. So I created um, my rewrite, and I'll copy that. I've got a brain on another screen where I'm taking notes. And I say, all right, AI, take this note and rewrite it. And I'll see if I can paste. Rewrite as a travel guide itinerary to complete all unchecked items. So you can see you can be very specific about what you're telling the brain's AI integration about your existing note. And in the end, I don't want to have any checklists or bullets. I want a script and a timeline to follow to complete my life bucket list. And oh my goodness, it's I should have shortened that. It's going into even time schedule. I've done this in some testing and it went year to year. But in this case, it said for each individual one, here's what time you would leave, and that's what time you would get the job done. I can redo it and not change anything. And as you can see, you'll get different result. Well, in this case, I got the same results, but I've had that happen where it's like, all right, year one, take care of all your woodworking. Year two, take care of all your reading and your bucket list and so forth. So you can play around with it until you get the results that you're looking for. And of course, it probably doesn't help to not put in the same input. Change that input to say, write as a script with yearly time frames. Let's see if that fixes it for me. There we go. Year one is going to Paris. Year two, I'm exploring America. Year three, I'm on to Peru. So this is a little bit more realistic. Yes, I want to accept and change these. And you can see it piled a few of them up into several years to take care of my reading and the New York Times crossword puzzle and so forth. So it really does a great job if you finesse and play around with all those features. And then next is I'm going to talk a little bit about how the brain can help you find insights. And what we mean by this is the brain has this really fantastic feature that creates automatic discovery of existing data. Maybe you've seen it already when you're creating a new brain. If I go down to my active projects, Utah, and I go into Arches and I find something, the cultural history, leading us on cultural history, um, I really want Shelley to focus on this area. There's Shelley. I already have a thought for her in my brain, so I'm going to double click and link Shelley to that existing thought. That's one way of the digital brain's way of assisting your organic brain, reminding you already have some of that existing information in your brain. But there's actually another way that this happens. If I say in the cultural history, I want to look into how John Wesley Powell researched the park pre, if I could spell right today, pre 1900. Interesting. Well, first off, I have a few misspellings. No problem there. Those are underlined in red, so I can correct those. Notice that John Wesley Powell is underlined in blue. I am now suddenly being told by my digital brain, I already have existing content, existing data on John Wesley Powell. I can right click and I can create a permanent link from this note to his thought. In this case, I just want to review it first. So let's activate it. There it is. I don't have a lot of data yet on John Wesley Powell. I can use AI to generate a note rather than going out to the web and starting my research and bringing it in. I have the brain take care of that for me. That's fantastic. But even as the brain generates AI generated content, and I'll go ahead and accept this content as soon as it wraps up. I'll accept that. But notice that it underlines words Native American heritage. I have a thought in this brain called Native American heritage. I have a thought, called United States Geological Survey, Colorado River. I can right click and I can activate Colorado or river, canyon, and so forth. So all of those unlinked mentions, the brain is finding those for you automatically as you add content, whether it's content you're typing in or generated through AI. The brain helps you discover all those related pieces of information. That's something that I don't think a lot of other applications out there can do. I've researched other note-taking applications, mind mapping applications. A lot of times you have to set those up manually if you want to make the connection between two existing pieces of data. The brain is always looking out for you and helping you to discover those relationships. And notice that while I'm on the John Wesley Powell, if I scroll all the way down, I'm going to see wherever John Wesley Powell is being mentioned in another thought as well. So I'm reminded, even though I'm working on his thought, I thought of him when I was taking some notes on the cultural history of arches, and I can click and navigate back to that thought. So the two are connected, that I can bounce back and forth between. And here you can see where in nearby excursions, cultural history is being mentioned on another note again in my brain. So as your brain grows and evolves, you'll find all those cross connections that exist within your data and really be able to take advantage of them. And it's up to you if you decide, like I said, to right click, make a permanent link between those two, or just simply right click to activate it anytime in the future. And the next component of, we got two more. The next component of the topic of today's discussion is collaborating and sharing your information. I've created some really, really great data in this brain about this upcoming project that I'm going to be doing with a team of high school chaperones and so forth. It's time to share this with other members of my team so we can collaborate and discuss together and really map out a really nice sort of experience for all of the kids that we're guiding them on. Now, also, this brain has a lot of my own personal information. So this is a two-pronged approach to sharing with you how you can collaborate within the brain. So really all I want to share is everything that's going on specifically with an upcoming on-site study to Arches National Park. I don't want to share with everyone in on my team the information I've collected on famous naturalists over the years, or I think I have information about the Amazon, other expeditions that I have been on. That's not what we're focused on today. Today, we are specifically focused on my on-site study. So, when you collaborate in a brain, sharing of a brain is done on the brain level, not on the thought level. When you share a brain, you're sharing all of the data within that brain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to control click, and here again, we're getting into some much more advanced features of the brain. I can manually control click. Yeah, I want my team and the trail map. And notice everything I'm control clicking on, I'm adding it into the selection box. So I can even control click on a gate. And it's sort of a toggle switch on, off, in and out. I can control click again to re-add or remove. And I'm happy with sharing that. Let's say I don't want to share, this equipment list isn't done yet. It's not ready for prime time. Control click. I just simply, it's no longer being highlighted by those marching ants. It's not added onto my list. And now I want to add everything below on-site study. So I'm going to go up to edit and select related thoughts and say child word for, we'll just go 5 generations down. I'm adding those, and I want to add any thought types and tags that I may have utilized here as well. So I'll say okay. And 227 thoughts have been added into my selection box. I'm going to right click and copy those onto my clipboard. I'm copying everything. I'm copying the notes, the files, the attachments, the thought types and tags. You saw I selected those. Now I can say file, create a new brain. So create brain, and this brain is just going to be called Utah 101. And so this creates this new brain. I'm basically starting with a blank slate. There's my brain. I've got the classic blue, dark background. I can change that to, one of my other, I've got a lot of goofy brains in here. I'm fine with that. Brain Zen. We'll leave that. I've customized a lot of my own themes and wallpapers. So here's my brain. I still have all those thoughts on my clipboard. I right click and I paste them in. So now I have a selection of, and it didn't look very good because it came from a brain with a lighter background. So I'm going to, or a darker background. So I'm going to go back to my brain theme really quickly. And let's just go back to that dark blue, classic dark blue. There, that works great. And now I'm going to sync this up to the Brain cloud. So I upload that to app.thebrain.com. From here, I've got a few different options. If everyone else on my team, doesn't have the Brain software, I can share an online link. So I'll go up to online and it's not done syncing yet. So these options are still grayed out. Maybe I shouldn't have grabbed over 200 thoughts, but it's almost done. So I've synced this up to app.thebrain.com. I can click on online and open up my brain access and sharing. Okay, my environment, my team that I want to share this with, they don't have the brain. So I want to say, all right, allow unlisted access, copy this URL and send them the URL. So I'll save that and resync. Sync is going to happen in the background every 3 to 5 minutes. But regardless, I have that URL on my clipboard. I can open up a web browser. Here I have one down below and paste that in. It's not going to, did I not copy it? So let's go back to online, brain access and sharing. There we go. Let's copy that one more time. Copy. And I open up my web browser. There it is. And Control V, paste. There we go. So it doesn't ask you to log in. I've made it unlisted, basically. Anyone in the world with that URL can go to this brain online. They've got access to all my notes, my images, my files, my documents. They cannot edit. I am logged in. I can see in the upper right-hand corner, I'm logged in. So if I click and drag, I can edit in the web client. They will not be, read-only users will not be able to. If they do have the brain, we can start collaborating if we have team brain licensing. So now that I've created this brain, I can share this brain with other members of my group that have a team brain license. So I'm going to say, all right, Shelly has right click, editor, access, reader, writer, or admin. I'll give her writer access, save, and resync. Shelly's going to receive an email. She now has access to my Utah 101 brain. She can make edits. We can start collaborating. I can even run reports to find what data have I edited, what data has Shelly edited, and so forth. That's really all I'm going to say about collaboration. Give you a few, just sort of open the door to give you a few ideas of different ways you could collaborate with the brain. We have entire webinars focused on collaborating multiple editors in the same brain. You can find those on our website or write into us, support@thebrain.com, if you want to know more about collaboration. But those are two quick ways to get your brain out there and shareable with the world. And then finally, archiving information. I'm going to be making a lot of changes to this particular brain in the next coming months prior to our launch of this adventure that we're going on. Let's say I want to sort of encapsulate the current version of the brain as I have it right now, in case I start sharing it with a larger group and we're all making edits and things get, I don't know, someone adds some information about an additional study that isn't relevant. And we want to delete it. No, that wasn't a good idea. Let's just roll back to the version of the brain that we had previously at any time. And this is always just great practice. You can make a BRZ, a brain archive of any brain that you have. I make brain archives and save them from time to time. And just for fun, I've even extracted, gosh, what did my brain look like in 2015? Because yes, I was using the brain then. And I've extracted that brain archive just to check out what is there, what wasn't there, and so forth. So at any time, file, and back up to Brain Archive. You can select whether you want to keep this Brain Archive just for you, only you with your licensing can extract it, or if anyone in the world. And this is another way to share a brain. Shelly says, "Hey, I really liked this Utah study that you're putting together. Can you send me a copy of that brain?" I don't want her to edit my brain. She wants her own copy that she's going to make her changes to. I'll zip this up so that anyone can extract the BRZ, select my location, back it up, and anyone that I send that BRZ file to, just as we will have sample BRZs of the brains that we're demoing today for you on the recording page, so that you can extract these brains and start adding your own data to them without modifying our original version of that brain. So the BRZs will be available to you. And there's many different BRZs on different topics on our website. If you ever attend one of our webinars, we typically allow, unless it's a personal brain of ours that we do share from time to time, we typically allow the BRZs to be downloaded for you. And that sort of wraps up all the steps, Shelley, that I wanted to share today. I'm sure we had a couple of questions while I was chatting away.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. And I
Good.
guess just the final step is archived work and lessons learned for a stronger 2026. And guess what? The good news is because all your projects are in the brain, they're automatically archived. So you can go back to previous years and click on all those tags, thought types. And so your brain becomes that living memory, that future forward project management tool, as well as your archiving tool,
Yeah.
which is kind of the,
So you can manually create those BRZ backups, or you can just navigate through a brain. I
yeah,
typically don't
exactly.
delete a brain, data in my brain, so I can always navigate back through it. And I should say this, you can run a report. So let's run it. Let's click on reports. This is a pro license feature of the brain, but you can run a report of all thoughts that have been modified within a particular time frame. So let's say now this is a brand new brain. So if I say modified today, I've got 237 thoughts modified today. If I go to my actual brain, and let's close that selection box, I can run a report of, all thoughts modified. So time modified and change my time frame. So these are all thoughts that I, modified in the past couple of days between 10:20 and 11:21. Or if I want to click on the view recent changes, I can see it's all been me because I'm the only one with access to this brain. But in a collaborative environment, here's where you can review who's recently been changing thoughts in the past, 14 days, 30 days, and so forth. So many ways to sort of archive and review, give it yourself a nice review of modifications made in 2025.
All right. And so now I think great, a lot of information. We're just going to go back. We're going to start on Q&A.
Hmm.
And I'm just going to go through a couple questions that popped up and some that reoccurred, and then we can kind of take it from there. And there were a lot of questions on AI and privacy. So I just want to draw that out for the rest of the attendees. Thanks for those questions. So the way AR works in its current version is only, as I mentioned in the Q&A, it only that query is going to the LLM. So when Matt created that note on arches or whatever historian that was, oh, that was the only query, and that does get sent to the artificial intelligence. The technology that we are using is Chat GPT, latest and greatest. We like that one. It works. We may pivot or change that in the future, but we are giving you what best of market LLM within the software, but you're only getting it when you utilize that query. So for those of you that were worried about what happens if I have private information in my brain, that stays private. And then and
Hmm.
to that point, when Matt generated the note and we got the smart links, there's a little bit of nuance there that was happening that I wanted to mention that came up in the chat. Those smart links are actually not Chat GPT or the LLM. The note was generated by the LLM, but that's our own discovery engine. So if you were to actually create your own note on John Wellesley Powell or a famous naturalist, to use this example, those smart links would appear without AI because that's the brain's discovery engine. So I guess it's a little bit of a nuance, but I just wanted to point that out that if for some reason you don't want to use AI or you haven't used AI and you create a note with a name or a keyword that appears elsewhere as a thought in your brain, the brain's discovery engine will also automatically link to that. So automatic linkages can happen in many ways. Obviously, we can generate new ideas and new content through AI, but the auto generation linkage, as it stands now in this version, is generated from our own internal discovery engine. Uh,
That's a good point, Shelley. Yeah, and I had never
so
thought of that before.
yeah, I
That
just
type of
wanted to
question.
bring that
Yeah.
up just because there's a lot of people are excited about the ad. Other people are like, I only want to use it for this. I actually love the way we do it. I feel like you can kind of have your cake and eat it too with our AI implementation. So, and then a lot of questions on the wallpaper. I think it must be the space theme. So these ones aren't defaults, but it's very easy. I don't know if we just want to show how to add a wallpaper real quick. And by the way, that's something that we can cover in the 101.
Yeah.
And also there's lots of great free sites. So you can really copy and paste any wallpaper into the background. I will say this, if you're using a darker background, go to the Brain blue default as Matt has so that you get that nice black on your thoughts and then add. So we're happy to help you
Yeah.
customize your brain, but there were some questions on wallpaper.
Sure. So notice I right clicked on the background and I went into my brain theme. You can also go up here to options brain theme. On a Mac, it would be the brain theme. But on the options tab in the theme window, you can specify, all right, instead of having just this solid blue background, I want some wallpaper. And I'm going to browse. So I'll go onto my C drive and I do have a folder here for wallpapers. So let's say I just want this image and
Oh,
open.
and Greg is also reminding us, of course, thank you, Greg. You can also have the wallpaper change when you select a
Oh
particular
yeah.
thought type. Thanks,
Yeah.
Greg. Yes, Gregory. Yes, that is true and fun. And we did not cover that in thought types. We've
So
got a
if
lot.
yeah, any thought
So,
that is urgent, if I want it to have a unique thought type, I can right click on urgent and set a dynamic
yeah,
wallpaper.
that's
So
right.
my
You can
urgent
set
thought types,
icon color or
yeah.
wallpaper. And yeah, that's since we're into wallpaper.
And so middle of the road, everything else will have the standard wallpaper, but anytime I go to a thought that's urgent, I'm going to have the urgent wallpaper.
I don't really feel
Up
like
here.
looking at you that beautiful scenery makes it urgent, but maybe there's some
We
paradox there where things are urgent, so you need to calm down by looking at the arches.
There you go. That's true. And you can change it at any time. I right click and remove dynamic wallpaper or set it as something uh,
I'm just
more
giving you a hard
more
time. It's all
urgent.
good. It's
There we
all
go.
good. Yes, Matt's got a nice library. Ooh, yeah, that looks okay.
That looks urgent. That looks like
Yeah.
Hal from 2001.
Right. Okay. And we did have some questions about version 15.
I That's what I saw come up earlier. Someone said version. All
So,
right. All right.
you know what? I think we should give people a little preview. We've got
Okay.
like
All
five
right.
minutes left. Let's finish strong in the title and hop into version 15 there. And by the way, there's so much that Matt can show you, and there's even more that we can't show you yet.
Yeah.
But we'll have some fun and jump into that. I can't
That's a
remember
good
who asked
point.
the
Yeah.
question, but
It can't be a full demo,
no, just a little preview of the. And
but
by the way, you can join.
yeah.
There's a not all the features are completely there yet, and some of the most exciting aren't. But there's a lot of amazing things in terms of UI that are. So, since I was going to find the person who asked. Somebody asked about a couple people asked about 15. So let's finish strong and finish in 15.
Absolutely. So I want to, let's see, what do I want to show first? Plex on top. Let's go Plex side by side. Um, I really love the layout of the buttons. We used to have just these tiny little buttons because I do this a lot.
It's so
I jump into
modern.
my
It's great.
Plex or my notes. Yeah, and here we can just really quickly go into Plex view, the split view. I'm focused on my notes. I love that those those buttons are so accessible. The layouts are all easily accessible from a drop-down menu. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. This is one feature that I really like when it first appeared. It really blew me away because I'm one of those users that has multiple brain databases. I've got brains that I demo. I have brains that I share with Shelly. I have brains that I keep very private. So when I click on the new tab, yes, I can open up my full brains list, or I could just scroll down from the drop-down menu and I'll go into my own personal brain. I don't mind. It launches so quickly. It's unbelievable how quickly I can go, from one brain to another and launch it. This was, I wouldn't say painful in 14, but it took some time to launch a new tab. And there you can see I jumped into a new brain and came back right away without missing a beat. So speed and reliability, and probably one thing that you can't see from just looking, everything looks the same. I've got my Plex, I've got my notes. What's really, really great about 15 is we have one build for all platforms, meaning that in the past, we add a new feature. Let's say we add a wallpaper button right up here. We'd have to add that wallpaper button for the Mac install version. Then we'd have to recode and develop a wallpaper button that works on Windows. Then we would have to develop and code a wallpaper button that worked on iOS, then on Android, then on the web client. Now we've got one platform that works on all platforms. One app that works on all platforms. It's just phenomenal. It's going to speed things along in the future development of the brain. When we develop something, a new feature, a new item, we're gonna be able to roll that out on all platforms right away. It's just absolutely a huge leap forward for brain development in the future. Um, what do you want to see? I mean,
Oh, well, you
there's
know what? I get this just a preview is great, but there's another question. I don't know if you want to now demo this in 14 or 50 from Joel. He says, "Can you please demo changing a parent's thought?" So a little bit of editing. Now that's
sure.
not,
Yeah, yeah.
so I want to
Um,
get that in.
and actually, I'll share this with you too. Like, let's take a look at here. I've got just a sample document. Watch what happens when I drag and drop. It actually highlights the area that I'm going to. Is this going to be a parent? Is this going to be a jump thought? Is this going to be a child thought down below? So um, that's just a delightful new feature. So you really know what you're getting when you drag and drop a document. And you'll see the same if I understand the question correctly. Let's say the Great
Yeah, you might
Basin.
have to even go to your old version because I think he
I
really
could, yeah,
wants to know.
yeah.
Either
But
way, but yeah,
yeah,
it's the same. It's the same in each version.
it's the
Although the
same.
font
Yeah. If I
is
want to
cooler.
change, if I don't want this to
Yeah, you
be
can
a
drag it
parent thought
around
anymore,
or
I can
unlink
drag it
it.
down to a child
Yeah,
thought.
let's do
Or,
that. Let's make it
yeah,
a
sure.
child Great
So,
Basin. It's not really
Great
a
Basin. I
child,
made
but
it
you
a
never
jump
know.
thought.
Jump. Okay.
So you want to change the parent? You want the Great Basin to be the parent? Click and drag. So you don't get that nice little frame like you do with 15, but it's the same thing. You can drag and drop. And as we saw earlier, if you're changing the parent, okay, let's say Zion, for whatever reason,
Love
uh,
Zion National Park.
don't we
My
all?
favorite.
Let's
Love
say
it.
I have Zion. I don't have it linked to Utah, or I have it incorrectly. I created it in Colorado. Um, Again, oh, and the brain probably needs to re-index here, so it's not finding it. There it is. Yeah, it's indexed. So Utah is where Zion National Park is. Again, you're creating a new brain. You're linking to existing content. Utah should be a parent of Zion. I click. Oops, I accidentally double clicked. Let me remove fossils. And that happens a little different in 14. You just double click and it creates the link. Here you can select multiple ones, so it's a little more advanced. But you can very easily at any time change the parent thought of an existing thought that you're on. So there I've shared a few different ways that you can do that.
Excellent.
Oh,
And
I know a feature I want to share.
okay,
It's
yes,
called the light
please.
sync. So
Oh,
under the
okay.
sync
That's it.
categories,
TikTok. Yeah, you get one more feature. We're just
okay,
leaking a few
I'll,
feet. No, no, no. Share that. Share it. Go ahead and
yeah,
share it. So you get
okay.
two. I'll give you two more, and then we're gonna strong finish this
All right.
webinar.
Light sync is fantastic because, we all live in a
It is pretty
time
cool.
where we're starting to have more and more devices. I've got my desktop that I'm working on today. I've got a laptop that I travel with. I have a desktop machine that's, sitting two offices down from Shelly in California. I jump back and forth between these different machines. My brain is identical on every single machine. So we all know that. That's always been a part of the brain. You sync it to the brain cloud, you download it to another device. Light sync means that everything that's internally attached here in my brain is being synced to the brain cloud. When I download this brain onto my traveling laptop, it does not automatically download all the internal attachments, only as needed. So I download a brain that is a fraction of the size. All the data is available for me on the cloud. And at any time I say, oh, yes, I do need this PDF. I can click, I can download it, not a problem. But I don't, when I'm downloading a brain to a new computer, I'm not downloading every single internal attachment. I may have PDFs or videos or graphics and files that are taking up a lot of room. And so that light sync makes it so that I have easy access to my brain. All the notes are there. Oh, you do need this file? Yes, I'll download that file. So files, you can be a little bit more selective about which large attachments you move from one brain to another. And of course, you can turn that off. It's just an option. Turn it on and off at any time. But it's going to make those of us that travel around with different, lots of brain databases on different devices makes things a lot easier.
Very cool. And
Okay.
for those of you who are on the Brain Services plan,
Hmm.
you get all the upgrades and so forth. So obviously 15 will be a free upgrade. And for those of you that aren't on a services plan, I also want to link this. This is the strong finish of all these new that we have our Cyber Monday sale hitting
Ah,
next week, but we can offer it to everyone who's on the webinar today. That's 25% off new licenses and service plans. So if you are considering getting on a service plan or purchasing the Brain Pro or the Brain Pro combo, you do want to do it this week or next week, while we have the Cyber Monday sale, because you will get 25% off. And then to those of you who are kind of new, and there were some questions, like Joel had some questions on moving a parent around, and there was some other sort of fine tuning brain type stuff. Join us tomorrow. Matt is hosting 101. They're every second week. Tomorrow he's doing it on his Mac platform, which is kind of cool for those of you that are on a Mac, but obviously the features work the same on, mostly the same on all the OSs. But so that being said, that class happens tomorrow, so you might want to pop into that at 10 a.m. Pacific. And
yeah, you
I,
can.
mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think I was just going to ask you if you had anything more to say.
Sure. Yeah, you can join the Brain 101, sign up for it on our website at www.thebrain.com. The Cyber Monday sale is not officially launched, but if you jot down this URL, and we'll
And
probably
or
make this a
call
little
in
bit
or
easier.
chat with us. It's fine.
Exactly.
We'll
Send a
get
note,
you. We'll
support
know
at
you're an
thebrain.com.
attendee, so
Yeah,
we'll get it for you. I just want to
yeah,
bring that up because I know a lot of attendees do like to go and purchase or upgrade a lot of times once they've watched the webinar and checked out how easy things are to do. So in this case, we want to make sure you get the sale.
good, good.
Always looking out for you. And I think with that, I want to wish everyone a strong finish to their 2025. We will have 101s. I'm not sure if we'll have one more event or this is our last event of the year. Feel free to write us in support or if you have any other questions and or new brains that you'd love to share, we'd love to hear from you.